Hello students, welcome back to the channel. So today we'll be talking about the third chapter, that is human reproduction. This carries 7 marks. So here you would start the chapter by studying the events in human reproductive. So this includes, or this attains after puberty. So it includes 6 steps. They are gametogenesis, insemination, fertilization, implantation, gestation, and parturition. So these steps or these events can be asked for 1 mark for definition, or they can be asked for 3 marks for writing or listing down the events. Moving on to male reproductive system, because this is gametogenesis. So under gametogenesis, the first gamete or the first reproductive system which we'll be studying about is about male. So when we are studying about male reproductive system, so first part which we are going to study is the testis, under which you will have to learn the diagram of seminiferous tubule. So seminiferous tubule will be asked for diagram to draw 3 marks, and if it is asked for 5 marks, as usual, 3 marks for diagram, 2 marks for explanation. Moving on to the next, here also the diagram is required to be learned. So diagram of male reproductive system. So this is a diagram which you have to learn for 5 marks and label all the parts. Always remember, any diagram you draw, we had discussed this when we were discussing about the question paper. Every question, if there's a diagram required, you have to draw it, and any diagram without the labeling will not be attracting any marks. So moving on to the next part, the duct system. It can be asked sometime in the examination, but it is quite a rare of frequently asked question. So duct system, just go through it. Then moving on to the penis, again this also will not be asked in the examination for the board exam. Moving on to male accessory glands, yes, this is a important question or frequently asked question. So here it can be asked for 3 marks because it includes 3 glands. Moving on to the next reproductive system, that is of female. So here you would be studying about ovaries, fallopian tube, that is the ducts, and uterus, that is the genitalia. Ovaries, again, yes, they would be asking about the hormones which is produced, and sometimes they will ask for 2 marks to add a note on it. Fallopian tube, this is important when you are drawing the diagram and when you have to label the parts. Otherwise, no, it will not be asked. Moving to uterus, yes, this can be asked for 2 marks, very rarely, but not frequently. So yes, about the uterus, to add a note on for 2 marks, it will be asked, but the diagram will definitely be asked for 5 marks. So make sure you draw the diagram and label all the parts which is necessary. Moving on to the wall of uterus, yes, each wall can be asked separately, or to write all the 3 walls of uterus would be asked. So yes, definitely this would be asked for 1 mark, 2 or 3 sometimes. Moving on to external genitalia, this is not much of a frequently asked question, but some 1 or 2 questions which can be asked from this. Moving on to mammary gland, yes, this is the diagram which will be asked. So diagram you have to learn to draw with the labeling, and if this is asked for 5 marks, as usual, 3 marks for diagram and 2 marks for explanation. But if they only ask for explanation, then you have to write for 5 marks the complete explanation of mammary gland. Moving on to gametogenesis, this is the next event, that is after production of gamete. The second event is this. So what is that gametogenesis? So here we will be studying about spermatogenesis, that is the male, and then oogenesis, that is in female. So here spermatogenesis definition, yes, it will be asked for 1 mark. And then formation of spermatids, yes, this is for explanation, because the question would be asked as schematic representation of spermatogenesis. Then you have to draw this diagram which is below with the spermatogonia cell cycle, and then you also have to mention the chromosome number per cell. So these three columns which is given here with the diagram, yes, this is a definitely asked question, and explanation also sometimes will be asked. Moving on to the next, that is spermiogenesis. Yes, here there would be few questions asked because of the Sertoli cell or the definition of spermiation. Yes, this you have to learn. Moving on to hormonal control of spermatogenesis, this is a definitely asked question because they can ask about the GnRH hormones, or they can also ask about the Leydig cells, which is stimulating what kind of hormone, or they would ask about the Sertoli cells. So this is a definitely to study. Moving on to structure of human sperm, yes, the structure also will be asked for 3 marks. Even if they ask for 3 marks, just add a note of 1 or 2 points so that it will make up complete 3 marks, and then make sure you label all the parts. And explanation, yes, just study the explanation because they can ask any of the question in between, like mitochondria, where it is present or what it is used for, or what is the part for motility, or they would ask about the human male ejection per ml or per coitus. So this is all the questions can be asked from this explanation. Moving on to oogenesis, this is the female gametogenesis. So here again, yes, explanation is yes to learn because here there is definition for oogenesis. Then there is the number of follicles which will be produced at puberty is also given. So yes, few 1 or 2 questions can be asked from this explanation. Moving on to the diagram, yes, oogenesis diagram, again the same type of framing question, schematic representation of oogenesis. So you have to give the life part, that is fetal life, birth, childhood, puberty, adult reproductive life, and then followed by the second column, that is the diagram. Third column, yes, the cell division, and the fourth column, chromosomes number per cell. Yes, this 4 columns you have to mention. So diagram is a necessary to learn. Moving on to the next explanation, yes, this is where the graphene follicle or the follicular process takes place. So this is also yes to learn. So make sure you learn the process event wise or steps wise. Moving on to difference between spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Yes, this is again a yes to learn because this can be asked for 2, 3, and 5 marks. Moving on to menstrual cycle, this can also be asked for explanation, or sometimes they would ask for the hormones present here, or they would ask for the definition of ovulation, so many. And then they would ask for menopause definitions. And then moving on to events in menstrual cycle, yes, this is for 5 marks. The 4 phases you have to mention and give the explanations also. The first phase is menstrual cycle, second is follicular phase, third is ovulatory phase, fourth is luteal phase. Moving on to fertilization and implantation, yes, this is also a yes to study because here a few questions would be asked where, like, can you see it in the second point? The ampulla isthmic junction, that is the fertilization region, and the third point which says the sperm comes in contact with the zona pellucida layer. So there would be questions arises from the layer of the egg. Moving on to embryonic development, blastocyst, this is just to understand. And then implantation, yes, for the definition, they would definitely ask. Determination of sex, yes, this is a frequently asked questions. So this you have to learn. Moving on to pregnancy and embryonic development, formation of placenta, functions of placenta, it is very rarely asked, but few questions again would be asked from this because what is chorionic villi, or a question like what are the hormones of placenta, such questions can be arised from this. Formation of germ layer, no, not a frequently asked question, but remember the 3 layers, that is outer ectoderm, inner endoderm, and middle mesoderm. Moving on to changes in embryo, yes, many questions can be asked. The pregnancy hormone or the duration of pregnancy, that is the gestation period, or the changes happening in the embryo during the gestation. Yes, this is a must question to be studied. Then moving on to parturition, yes, this is for the definition, it will be asked, and the hormones which is producing or helping in parturition, yes, that also will be asked. Lactation, yes, again few questions will be asked. So here, what is lactation, or the hormone which is helping in lactation, or what is colostrum, what is the antibiotic which is present in the colostrum. So all such questions will be asked. So this is all about the third chapter, that is reproduction, and in the description you can see a few questions which can be framed from this chapter. So please have a look of all the questions which can be asked from this chapter. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.